Is have you considered parasites? Maybe you have been dealing with allergies, maybe you've been dealing with poor digestive health, maybe you've been having some neurological symptoms, brain fog, memory issues, mood like depression, anxiety. Maybe you're trying to get a diagnosis, you're not sure what you're dealing with, and you've tried all kinds of diets and you've tried supplements and you've tried exercising and you really thought you were a healthy person and you're really not sure why you're dealing with terrible symptoms. And what I'd like to ask you is, have you considered parasites might be the cause of what you're dealing with? The parasites might be causing all the horrible symptoms that you're dealing with. And that is true. And that is what I have discovered because I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis at the age of 28 years old. I was super healthy all my life. And I literally went from being a healthy person to being diagnosed with this mysterious, incurable degenerative disease that I was going to be completely disabled by. That's what the neurologist told me. But by the grace of God, I learned that parasites were causing my symptoms. And since I've treated them well enough, I have been able to live MS free for now 35 years. And we've helped hundreds of people all over the world, helping them to recover from all kinds of chronic disease. So today we're going to talk about parasites and we're going to talk about you've tried everything else. You may have done heavy metal detox. Maybe you've tried allergy testing and desensitizing, and you've tried diets and supplements, but you've never really tried parasites, treating them. Maybe you've gone to a health food store and you've gotten some different herbs and tried, but we have found that's just not enough, especially when we're dealing with symptoms. So that's the topic for today. And if we haven't met, I mentioned that I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. My name is Pam Bartha, and I'm the author of Become a Wellness Champion and the founder of Live Disease Free. And this is a very passionate topic for me because I have firsthand experienced what a parasitic infestation can do to our health. And we've helped hundreds of people all over the world, helping them to recover from chronic disease. And we have some students that have been disease-free, living disease-free for now 10 years. Actually, one of our students, she just published a book this year with a few other people, and she looks, I swear she looks younger than she did when she took my program years ago. So what is a parasite? A parasite is any microbe that lives in you and causes you harm. Let me just see this here. You're only getting this on your phone. Okay, good. Susie, you're on with us. I'm sure you should be able to get this on the web. So a parasite is any microbe that lives in you and causes you harm. Uh, it could be like a bacteria, a type of pathogenic bacteria. It could be protists, which are single cell parasites. They have more complex structure than a bacteria. Could be different types of worms. There's different types of roundworms. Some of them can be several feet long, and some of them can be very, very small, not even visible with a naked eye, and they can infect different parts of the body. And then there can be tapeworms, and there can also be flukes. There can also be different types of fungi. Some of us have lived in moldy homes. Some of us may have had a history of candida, which is a type of yeast. So whether it's yeast or molds, there's different fungi that can also become parasitic inside of us. And so we have to, like, I think for most of us, we kind of think about, like when we had strep throat or tonsillitis or bronchitis, we go to the doctor, they give us an antibiotic, and we're cured. So we're looking for this cure, whether we have MS or arthritis or diabetes or cancer, we're looking for a cure, and we're not going to find one because we're dealing with dysbiosis. And dysbiosis means that we're out of balance. We have multiple different types of microbes that are causing the problem. So it's not just going to be one single parasite that is making us sick. The sicker we are, the more infested we are, and the more out of balance we are. So again, a parasite is any microbe that lives inside of us and causes us harm. And what they do is they eat our nutrition from our food. They live off of us, so we're the host, they're the parasite, and they cause a lot of inflammation. And inflammation is when our body, when our immune system is fighting the infection. So think about inflammation is war. The primary job of our immune system is to fight infections, to fight parasites, to protect us from parasites. And so when the immune system is working really hard, when there's a lot of inflammation, and that's with disease, not if you get in a car accident, that's a different type of inflammation. But with the inflammation associated with chronic disease, that is where we notice that we have a lot of different symptoms, and those symptoms are caused by our immune system trying to get rid of the parasites. And sometimes, just as in war situations where the good guys, the soldiers, are not able to fight the enemy when the war gets out of control. There can be a lot of damage with wars also, and that's with inflammation. There can be a lot of injury, redness, swelling, pain, etc. But there comes a point where our immune system is no longer able to fight off the parasites. And then we end up with a chronic disease label. And so, what we do in developed countries is instead of supporting the immune system when it's overwhelmed with infection and parasites, what we do is we suppress the immune system, which makes us weaker, and it makes the parasites able to take over more ground in our body more quickly. So that's not the answer for us. It's the answer for lots of profits, right, in the big pharma industry, but it's not the answer for us. So, again, there are different types of roundworms. Some of the really large ones, they can be like 3 feet or longer. I would probably about 3 feet. And those are like Ascaris worms. Tapeworms can grow several feet long. They can, I think I've seen them up to 5 feet long in pictures, not in our students though. And flukes are flatworms, and they are more wider and flat, and they can be small. They can be in the liver, but there can be intestinal flukes. There can be blood flukes. They're all different sizes. The intestinal flukes will be bigger. And then there's lots of different types of bacteria. There could be Borrelia, which is the bacteria that causes Lyme disease. There's E. coli. Some of us keep getting recurrent E. coli infections, part of the urinary tract infections. Clostridia species, we've talked about those also. So Clostridia, it's a really nasty bacteria that produces very, very strong neurotoxins. And we've talked, in my past videos about how they cause leaky gut, they cause leaky brain. They're not just involved with MS, but they're involved with all kinds of different types of conditions. Probably with multiple sclerosis also. It's been shown in different species. Chlamydia pneumoniae. So there's many, many bacteria. There's many types of protists, and those would be more like Giardia that you could get if you drank water that's not chlorinated. Toxoplasmosis is something that's very commonly found in cats. And malaria and babesia. So there's a babesia type protist that's really linked for over 100 years, linking it with multiple sclerosis. And then again, the different types of fungi. So with Candida, there's several different types of Candida. There's not just one. There's cousins of Candida, and there's Aspergillus. There's probably several hundred species of fungi that can infect humans. So then you're thinking like, well, Pam, how in the world are we ever going to figure this out? How are we going to figure out what is making us sick? It's not that hard. So what I first want to talk about too is how in the developed countries we're told that we don't have parasites. I was just speaking with a veterinarian today, and he's getting up in his age and he's got all kinds of different symptoms. And I'm like, have you ever, I know that you have treated a lot of the animals, like you've been a vet for years, but have you ever treated yourself for parasites? And the answer is always no, not really at all, because we live in countries where our doctors say, no, you can't, you could not, like if you haven't traveled, there's no way you would have parasites. But he knows firsthand that he's been treating animals for years and years, that, deworming them and making sure that, they don't get a parasitic infestation, because he knows how parasites impact animal health. And it's the same thing with human health. Absolutely. So The parasites are in our food, they're on our produce, they're in our soil, they're in our pets. If we eat in a restaurant where somebody has parasites and they didn't wash their hands, we could pick up parasites in that situation too. So we don't have to like really be paranoid about it, but we have to understand that that is just part of life. We are exposed to parasites. Yes, it's helpful if our water is chlorinated. Then we are not going to be drinking a lot of parasites in our water. But for the rest of it, we're very similar to other countries, right? You could be swimming in water, and the water, if it has parasites, sometimes they can get in through your skin, come into your body through the water. If you're walking barefoot on ground, if there's parasites on the ground, some of them will come in through your heels. So just depending on the type of parasite it is. So it's just part of life. And yes, it is good to walk barefoot on grass. It's a excellent way to ground. So I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. But I'm just saying that we cannot totally protect ourselves. Yes, like I have dogs. I love dogs. I will always be around animals. I love them. But I don't have them in my bed. I don't even have them in my house anymore. We've got breeds of dogs that love to be outside. They're great Pyrenees dogs and they love being outside. And that makes me happy because I don't have a bunch of hair like I used to. But since I have learned about the parasites and what has come out of me, myself personally, I really wash my hands a lot more. I actually, even when I'm outside, when I'm gardening and stuff, I'll wear gloves and, spending a lot of time with the animals, I'll wear gloves, but I still enjoy them, right? And I'm still living my life. I'm not being paranoid. But it's very important that we understand that we are exposed to parasites and it doesn't matter what country that we live in. So, my journey, I was just 28 years old and I had been healthy all my life, slim, active, healthy, fit. I mean, not a hardcore athlete, but always just loved to be active. Raising young children, so I was eating healthy and I was no alcohol, no caffeine, no caffeine because I was having babies and nursing. So, no caffeine, no alcohol, just healthy food and definitely not smoking. And then I literally went from being a healthy person all my life, only seeing doctors for a checkup during pregnancy, etc., going to, losing all vision within 3 days in my left eye, having severe headaches, tingling, and weakness in my legs, basically laying on the couch, not able to take care of my two small kids. And my mom stepped in to help. It hit me really quickly and really hard. Did I now, in hindsight, looking back, did I have symptoms of parasites? For years I did. Just like that one blog post I did, like where people that are diagnosed with MS, they've usually had gut issues for years before they were diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And that was me. When I was a kid, maybe once or twice a week, I would have a bowel movement. I had terrible constipation. I just thought that was normal, right? And every time that our family, which wasn't very often, 6 kids, back in the prairie, if we ever had like Chinese food or hamburgers, I would be laying on the floor with stomach pain. So I was always skinny. I was always underweight. My mom would try to fatten me up, but the other brothers and sisters got fattened up and I was still skinny. So I had those symptoms in the background since I was very little. As a newborn child, colicky, fussy, couldn't handle the pablum with the gluten. So I always had to do rice pablum, etc. So there's all these little warning signs that we have that we didn't know we should pay attention to. And then eventually, after a few children and hormones, and then the parasite load gets to be too big. And then our immune system is like, can't handle it, can't deal with it. And then we end up with really significant neurological symptoms. And then we get the label, the disease label. So when I was really sick and the doctor gave me no hope for a cure, I cried out to God because he had always answered my prayers in the past. And I was really devastated. I thought that my life was over. I couldn't figure out, like, how am I going to take care of my children and what a burden I would be to my husband. And then the neurologist at the MS clinic, he said, there are going to be people telling you about all kinds of snake oil cures, but I'm telling you, as the expert, there is nothing that you can do to change the course of your life. You will be completely disabled in time. And so because I was so devastated and God had been so faithful in my life before, I really cried out to him and I begged for help. And I believe the reason he answers my prayers is because I do a lot of begging. So, long story short, shortly after my diagnosis, my mother in law gave me a book on candida and candida infections. And the book was called The Yeast Connection. And that book opened up my world, my whole eyes to a whole new world that I did not know existed. I did not know what candida was. I had never had a yeast infection. But because I had so many gut issues, that I could relate to, that book was written by Dr. William Crook. It's a classic. I wouldn't buy it. I would go to the library and look. It's quite interesting. It's pretty outdated, but it was the first book that started me on this journey to say that maybe there was something I could do to change the course of my life. So, fast forward, I found a few other doctors that were talking about how infections in the body, chronic parasitic infections, were causing all kinds of diseases, not just MS. And when they're treated well, then we recover. And this was over 30 years ago, probably closer to 40 years ago, that these hero doctors were already sharing these truths. Isn't it sad that nothing has changed since that time? We're still doing the same thing we have done for since I was diagnosed. We're using immunosuppressive drugs. We don't know what causes MS. There is no cure. We just have more and more expensive drugs, and we are just treating the immune system like it is stupid. It's attacking our own nerve tissue for no reason. When the research the research shows that there is a reason. The reason is parasites. And just so you know, I will be hosting my live masterclass training. That'll be next Wednesday. And in that live masterclass training, I'm going to be sharing all the research that I have, and it's a ton of research, but I've condensed it down for you so that you'll see the research behind the roundworms and the tapeworm larval cysts and the malaria babesia typhrotis and the fungi and like all the different infections that are involved with MS. And these would be similar for other diseases also, but it's just, to save time, we're talking about one condition, but very, very similar parasites. And so there, I'm going to share with you the research. I'm going to go deeper into how we recover from the parasitic infestations. Today, it's really about creating awareness. It's like you've tried all these other things. Have you ever considered that what you're dealing with is parasites? And everyone that I talk to, they're like, this is the first time I've ever heard this. For the vast majority of people, they have no idea that parasites can cause all these different symptoms. So, in my journey, I first learned about candida, and then I learned about Lyme disease. And then I was coaching students. Like I ended up being so successful with what I had done to protect my health and to regain my health that I had been MS free. And then I went back to university and I got a science degree. I became a certified teacher. I worked in the school district for probably about 14 years. But on evenings and weekends, I would coach because that was my passion. When you get your health and your life back, a lot of us, we just want to help others have that same wonderful experience. And so after doing juggling teaching and coaching, I ended up leaving my teaching profession. And now I've been coaching full time. We have the Live Disease Free program. We've helped hundreds of students all over the world. We're around 10 years of doing this, and we have students that have been free of MS for 10 years or close to 10. I would say, 7 to 10 years. And some of them, depending when they started working with me. And some of them are going, they've started health food companies, writing books, starting wellness clinics. They are making their difference in the life also in the lives of others also. And I'm going to be sharing their successes also on my live masterclass training. So I only host 3 of these in a year. This will be the last one for 2023. So if you want to join us, I will be posting the link so that you can register because you need to grab a spot. But if you want to register to join us next Wednesday, it's free. There's no charge for it. I'm going to share with you all the steps in great detail, lots of case studies and research so that you'll really be clear on, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, to know why I have been so sick and why nothing is really working. Like, diet is not, even our diet, the Live Disease Free diet is super helpful, but it won't get rid of the parasites. It won't give you the level of health that you want. You have to do both. You have to first stop feeding the parasites, and then you want to treat them. You want to get them out of your body, get them out of your system. So I have been living MS free for over 35 years now. I have raised my family. I now have 7 grandchildren. We just had our most recent little granddaughter just 3 weeks ago. Beautiful little girl. We have 6 granddaughters and 1 grandson. Pretty crazy. And still with my husband over 40 years now. It's amazing. So, again, by the grace of God, just showing me this wisdom that I believe because I asked, and now we're helping others all over the world. And it doesn't matter what country you're in, we can help you. We've helped students in, I would say, probably around 20 countries by now. So what's really important for you to know is that all disease is there's inflammation in all disease. In every single disease, there's inflammation, and inflammation is the immune system fighting parasites. So if the parasites are treated, there's no more inflammation. That's really important to know. And you can have more success and more recovery than you ever thought possible. So the best ways to treat parasites. So what we do is we follow the Live Disease Free plan. And the days of just popping a pill and getting on with our life, like if we had strep throat or bronchitis, tonsillitis, that doesn't work with chronic parasitic infestations. So, what's really important is that we prepare to treat, because usually the people that I work with, they have been sick for a while. They usually have some kind of autoimmune disease label, and so their immune system has been struggling for a while. There's toxicity. They're not detoxing. Their pathways are not opened well enough. So it's really important that they do some prep work first. We want them feeling a lot better before they start treating. That way, the drugs, the herbs, the drugs, and the oxidizing agents, they all work a lot better. So number one is that we change our diet. So the Live Disease Free plan is by following the Live Disease Free diet. And then, so we have to first decrease the carbs because the parasites love carbohydrates. That is their favorite food. So, as we decrease the carbs, they are less active. The inflammation starts to go down, and we start to notice a lot of symptom improvements. I'm going to share with you some of the successes of students that are in this program right now, what they are experiencing as far as symptom improvements. And so, that is super important. The diet is number one. And so you don't have to wait to start feeling better. The minute you get your carbs down low enough, you're going to go, oh my goodness, I cannot believe how much better I feel. And that's with the Live Disease Free diet. And I have all the guidelines for the Live Disease Free diet on our website under resources or under research. Maybe it's under research. You can find all the guidelines there. There's a cheat sheet. You can print it off and start following that. And I promise you that if your carbs are low enough, you're going to notice significant symptom improvements. The second thing we do is we support the body. This is before we start treating. We want to make sure that we are having daily bowel movements, and we're opening up the detox pathways, right? We're getting the waste out. We are sleeping well. We're having at least 8 hours of sleep. And the students I work with, they're notorious for not being able to fall asleep or waking up through the night. So there's certain things we can do or take over the counter to just help promote sleep. And then daily bowel movements, really super important. And then also just looking at our blood work and supporting physiology that needs it. Maybe our thyroid is low. Maybe our iron is low. Maybe our vitamin D is low. So just looking at different aspects of our physiology and supporting those areas, decreasing the mold in our environment if we have mold, and also making sure that we uh, deal with wireless radiation. So we are dealing with 5G now. So if we have a lot of radiation in our home coming from our computers and our cell phones, but also all our appliances are smart now too. So if we have a lot of radiation, that actually makes the infections, the parasites grow more quickly and produce more poisons. So, especially when we're sleeping, we want to just really cut off the Wi Fi and just make it a sleep sanctuary so that we can heal and it's better for everyone in the home. So, all those things are to support the body. So, by the time we're ready to treat, people are sleeping well, our students are sleeping well through the night. They notice significant symptom improvements. We'll talk about those in a minute. And they're just feeling a lot better. So, again, we don't have to wait to treat before we start feeling better. Then, once we're at the treatment phase, this is where we start with some herbs and we might use the oxygen type therapies while we are building the game plan to treat. So, this is where we're going to be definitely looking at people's health history, the health history of their parents, their symptoms, their diagnosis, and also energy test results. So we don't have good stool tests. We like one of my favorite mentors, he has shared that, from one of the very best parasitologists that he knows, they're only able to pick up about 10% of the parasites that we're dealing with. So why spend $1,000 or $750 to $1,000 on a stool comprehensive stool analysis when it's not going to show the parasites you're dealing with, right? Save that money for treatments. So energy testing is helpful. We'll talk more about that on my live masterclass training, how it works. But basically, when we start treating, this is where when we're using the right treatments for for everything, for our diagnosis, our symptoms, our health history, the parasites we have. So when we're using the right treatments, we start to really notice, like in 4 to 5 days, we can start to see big shifts in things like balance and spasticity and muscle strength and just energy, just feeling like getting rid of that fatigue and pain, etc. So tremors can diminish, pain can end, vision improves, writing improves. Like some people were not able to write anymore, speech improves, people get strength back in their legs and arms, and their mobility improves. And we can never promise full recovery for mobility, but what we can say is that we have seen that there is a lot more recovery that we can have than we ever thought possible. There is so much that is just in the inflammation stage. And if we treat inflammation, that can be completely resolved. It's just when you've had permanent scarring to myelin or to, to tissue, we don't know how to fix that yet. But the good news is that most of it is still inflammation. And there's so many people that have come out of wheelchairs and out of scooters, etc. So it's amazing. But things like spasticity can be resolved, drop foot can be resolved, balance comes back, numbness can be resolved, paralysis. Again, this really has to do with a little bit more work if we haven't been able to walk for a long time. Sometimes it takes a few treatment cycles and then all of a sudden people are able to start to stand and then they can start to wall walk and they just have to build up their muscles. So it is so important that we get this word out. And if you really are following our work and you believe the work we're doing, please help us by sharing this because that's the only way people are going to hear that parasites could be causing their problem. Step number 4 is like once we've treated the parasites really well, then it's all about maintaining our health. Like we definitely want to build back the good microbes. We want to build back that healthy ecosystem especially in our digestive tract that protects us from parasitic infestations. But again, we're going to be exposed to parasites throughout our life. So what we have to do is we have to make sure to learn how to manage the microbes in our body. And that's what we do in the Live Disease Free plan. That's how I have been able to live MS free for over 30 years. And I actually was on a Frisian horse 2 weekends ago. It was the most wonderful. I just love Frisian. I love horses, period. But there's something magical about Frisian horses. And, for me in my 60s to start getting back into horses after, being diagnosed with MS in my 20s, like how fun is that? And I just haven't gotten back to it because I've been so busy with work and grandkids. But it's kind of like, Pam, you're over 60. If you don't start to pick up some hobbies and not just work all the time, you're going to run out of time. So I'm just getting back into horses now, and I'm so incredibly grateful. Just even hanging out with them, they're just one of my passions. So I'm going to go to your questions right away, but I hope that this has helped you to see that you've tried so many different things, but have you considered parasites? On to the successes. So these are from our students. These successes are from our students that are just some of them that are in the Live Disease Free plan right now. They are recovering from MS, but other diseases also. I'm going to leave their names anonymous because these students are just in the process. So one of my students shared, so these are just their most recent current updates. So I wanted to share that I started this new anti-parasitic medication. So she's done, I think, at least 2 or 3 different cycles of certain medications. And then sometimes we're energy tested and other things show up then. But so she started kind of like a new parasite medication regime. So she did all this prep work. She felt a lot better during the prep phase. And it's completely given her life back. I'll read what she shared. So she said, I'm so encouraged to see this on my 4th treatment cycle. At the end of the first day, another parasite came out. She said she has about 1.5 jars of parasites that she's been collecting that have come out. So she shared, this weekend we watched our grandchildren 2 days in a row. This was the first time in 4 years, and it was so much fun. I am so grateful for your help. I couldn't have done this without your support. I went from being in bed most of the day to being functional and as an adult again. This feels like a miracle. My youngest grandson, who is 4 years old, this is the first time we've ever watched him, ever. So yesterday we watched all 3 grandchildren from 7:15 a.m. until 5 p.m. We swam in the pool, we worked on puzzles, we colored, and I was a short order cook again. It brought us such joy to be able to do this, and to be able to help my adult children. So she just shared, thank you again, Pam, for helping me. My life has changed. It is miraculous. The next student shared, so she is just getting ready to treat. So this student has not started treating yet. I have lost 35 pounds and the edema in my calves has decreased. My headaches are rare. My joint pain has gone, especially in my neck. It is a little easier to remember things at times. So I wanted to mention too that if you don't want to lose weight, you don't have to. But if you want to lose weight, it's really easy to lose weight and you don't feel like you're not being able to eat food. You can eat whenever you want. You can eat as much as you want, but it's pretty easy to lose weight if you want to. And the next student shared that he also lost 25 pounds and he feels so much better. He had inflammation in his shoulder that's gone, and his feet don't hurt anymore either. Another student who's just following the diet, just getting ready. So these 3 students are just getting ready to treat. Shared, I'm following the diet. I'm starting to feel better and better. I'm starting to feel better and better every day. The majority of my symptoms have subsided. Brain fog is virtually gone. Legs do not feel heavy anymore. No more drop foot. This is just from the diet and supporting the body, working on daily bowel movements, sleep, and the diet. Blurred vision, double vision is gone. I am walking every morning for about a mile and getting as much sunshine as I can. I'm having daily bowel movements. Before this, I was having a bowel movement maybe once or twice a week. The next student shared, on Thursday morning, I walked 5 steps unassisted. This is another student that's newer and not treating yet, just getting ready to treat. On Friday, my physiotherapist had me kicking a ball against the wall, switching feet after each kick while holding onto the horizontal bar positioned on a squat rack. I asked if it was a different ball, like one with a motor, as my kicks were good. He assured me that it was because I was stronger. So we see this all the time, that physiotherapists can notice that we are stronger. So she said, along with my improved sleep, that is 3 victories all in 1 week. The next student shared, I woke up today and noticed that I felt like cleaning the house. I've been avoiding going upstairs a lot due to dragging my left leg, but today I found myself heading up with little trouble. Still holding onto the rail, but not dragging myself. I'm also sleeping rather peacefully. not tossing and turning as much, and I feel great in the morning. So today was day 3 on taking one parasite drug. So this student had started treating, and she said, I didn't notice any side effects. So she's going to introduce the second parasite drug slowly that she tested well for. So I'm not a practitioner. I'm not a doctor. I don't prescribe these medications. I don't like, they need to work with practitioners for energy testing and to get the prescriptions, etc. But what we do is we help to work together as a team because we have a lot of experience. A lot of doctors don't have experience in treating parasites. So when our students find a doctor that wants to treat, but they're like, I have never helped treat parasites before, then what we can do is we can help them with what has been working for people, what's been working for our students, and we work together. So another student shared, I'm still treating Lyme and I'm feeling better and better. So she first treated the larger parasites. She did have a history of testing positive for Lyme disease, but again, it's so important to treat the larger parasites that infect us with the smaller Borrelia parasites. So now she is able to start treating Lyme and feeling better and better, especially when she's also having her near infrared sauna in the morning, having so much more energy for longer during the day, less and less tingling in my feet. And I am getting so much better about my lifestyle habits, such as watching the sun rise and sunset. So she also had diplopia, where your eyes are going like cross-eyed and wandering. I know she had tinnitus. She had all kinds of other symptoms. So she's kind of getting to the end of her symptoms, which is so amazing. And so she has treated parasites like with the parasite drugs, and now she's using herbs. She has been using the oxygen type therapies also. And then the next student shared, I have been taking, I won't say the name of the drug because I just don't want to, number one, I want to be responsible because I don't know if you guys need these treatments. It all depends on what you energy test well for. And number two, I don't want to get censored. So this student is taking only one parasite drug, and she's noticed that she's passed biofilm and also a small worm. But she said, I'm not examining my stools, so I could have passed a lot of other things, but this is just what I saw. But she noticed that just starting with this one parasite drug, and she is recovering from MS, that her fingers are actually starting to work a little better just after a few days of one parasite drug. So it can happen. If you're using the right treatment, you can start noticing significant symptom improvements in 4 to 5 days. You should, if you're using the right treatment and if you've done the correct prep work. The next student, some days I feel really good and I walk almost normal, but not consistently yet. I definitely have less stiffness in my back. My toe that was spastic even after surgery, within a couple of days of treating, has straightened out, and now I am walking really good. I see parasites every day, and that's why I feel that I need to continue to do oxygen, the oxygen enemas. So amazing. And then the next student shared, I have two encouraging things that happened to me. First, my headaches that I've had for 20 years, every day, they're gone. Yay. This happened right after I started the Live Disease Free diet. I have no more hot flashes. If the room temperature is too warm by just 1 degree, it was very uncomfortable for me. But just a week ago, I told my husband that the room was too cool, and I switched the thermostat to where it was for years. So she raised it from 72 to 74 degrees because she no longer has these hot flashes anymore. She also had hot flashes every morning when she woke up for years, and that is also gone. So, a lot of times when women start the Live Disease Free plan and they have these hot flashes, they think that it is caused by hormones. And I always say to them, in our experience, it is not caused by hormones, it's caused by parasites, especially things like Babesia, which is a protist, but it could be other parasites also. But Babesia is notorious for causing day sweats and night sweats. So, with all of our students, they work with their doctor, they are able to come off of their hormones. And again, hormone therapy, they're very, very powerful chemicals that change the chemistry in our body in ways that we don't totally understand. And so They can mask the symptoms of parasites, but they can also make the parasites have more opportunity to make us sicker more quickly. So they actually can weaken us. So we have to be really careful. So these women are coming off the hormones and they are just getting rid of all their symptoms just by correcting the microbes in their body. The next student, a gentleman shared, so he's just getting ready to treat, a newer student. I have slept, so following the diet and working on the daily bowel movements and sleep, I have slept at least 7 hours straight through the night for the past 5 days. I wake up refreshed and clear. I love it. I also no longer have serious leg cramps, serious shin cramps for the past 3 nights. The tingling in my right hand is starting to calm down, and my cousin said that I am standing straighter when I walk now. My bowels are much better now, too. So that's amazing. And that's just with the diet. That's not even starting to treat yet. The next student shared, my victory this week is that I'm down 10 pounds since I started the program. I intend to lose another 10 pounds by the end of 90 days. So, again, she's doing this without being hungry, with being satisfied, and it's still easy. It's like you just have to eat enough calories. So, as we decrease the calories from carbs, we have to increase the calories from fat. Another student shared, I do notice that my legs are getting stronger. She's just getting ready to treat. Another student shared, I am feeling pretty good and I have more energy and I'm walking 2.63 kilometers every day, increasing more distance every day. I'm getting 7 hours of sleep a night and getting my bowels to move every day now. So he is just getting ready to treat. So he's just going to be reaching out to a practitioner within the week to get energy tests and to get the parasite prescriptions. Another student shared, I have not experienced any fatigue for almost 3 weeks now. In fact, I repainted my entire prayer room and I've been walking faster and I have not been as affected by the heat. We notice that our students, once you treat the parasites, you can handle the heat again. You can lay on the beach, you can lay in the sun, you can be outside when it's really hot. When we have parasites, they are very sensitive to heat. And when they get overheated, they make us feel horrible. And that's why we don't tolerate the heat. So for the past 2 weeks, I've had no trouble needing a sleep aid. I have not had to use a sleep aid. I have so much energy that I don't know what to do with it all. After my third round of parasite treatments, so the parasite drugs, I took 10 days off and now I'm on the herbs and I'm using the oxygen therapies. During this time, I found a roundworm in my stool and I am so pleased to see those results. And I am confident I am passing many more to feel this good. Praise God, she said. So, those are just a few of the successes that we get in every week from our students. And it's like Christmas for us. Like Marissa works with me and Caroline, and this is why we do this work. And this, once you've been through hell with these parasites and you get your life back, you just want to help other people. And this is what we have every week in the people that are in the program. So I would really encourage you to watch my masterclass training. Join us live next week. It will be the last one for this year. And this is your opportunity to see the plan that is helping these people recover and has helped others to. Right now, our track record is up to 10 years now where people are still disease free, living disease free of MS and other diseases. So it's not just multiple sclerosis. I'm going to go to your questions right now. Hi, Susie. Uh, where are you on the web? Sorry, I don't know. Like I would be under Live Disease Free Facebook and on YouTube, Live Disease Free channel on YouTube and on Facebook. Yes, it will. It is recorded, so you definitely can listen to it then. Oh, you're on there. Awesome. So Denise, you've got a lot of inflammation. So there's two types of inflammation. There's inflammation like if you fell off your bike or if you fell or if you got in a car accident where you're bleeding and you're cut up. That's inflammation. That's an outside injury to your body. And your immune system is going to go and clean up the wound and it's going to make sure if any invaders came in through the broken skin, it's going to deal with it. So again, it is your immune system working. But when we have chronic disease and we have inflammation, that is caused by parasites, that is caused by infections. That is by definition, it's not something I've made up. You can research, right? What are the main job of our immune system is to protect us from infection, to protect us, sure, from toxins, but usually there's a lot more different microbes than we're not usually exposed to major amounts of toxins. Although nowadays we are exposed to a lot that we don't know about, but for the vast majority of us, it's different parasites. So, in order to get that inflammation down, we either take immunosuppressive drugs, which is suppressing our immune system so it can't fight the parasites. So, you can imagine if you have a war and you have soldiers and you suppress the soldiers, is that a good outcome for the war? No, because then the enemy can just take over more territory more easily. And that's what happens when we have parasites. A better option is to support the good guys, support our immune cells, and to start to help to treat the enemy. And that's what we do. So that's the way you get rid of inflammation, because once you have restored enough balance, the immune system doesn't have to work that hard anymore. And you'll notice all those symptoms of inflammation go away. So, Louise, okay, maybe there's some issues. I know I should really start a little video before I start because it takes a bit for YouTube and for Facebook to show. They're getting worse and worse with all of this, unfortunately. It is recorded though, so if you missed the first part, you can always watch the replay. How do we test for parasites? Joanna's wondering. So, the best way to test for parasites right now is literally just to go to a practitioner that does energy testing. So, this would be a chiropractor that does applied kinesiology. It could be a naturopathic physician that does some type of either muscle testing, or they might use a machine like Vega machine, AMA machine, EAV machine, or muscle testing like autonomic response testing, or just muscle testing. And the applied kinesiology is another form of muscle testing, but it's usually chiropractors that do applied kinesiology. And then naturopaths might do like other types of muscle testing. And you could even find, you can check with nurse practitioners. Usually, functional medicine doctors are not skilled at this, but some are. Things can change, but you can always ask. And you can just do a Google search in your city, like type in your city in the search bar and do naturopath or chiropractor and energy testing, or some of the names that I mentioned, ART or Vega energy testing, autonomic response, applied kinesiology, and you'll find somebody in your area. But usually you have to bring samples in because they don't usually have samples. And you just email them through their website, say, hey, so for our students, they're following a very comprehensive program. So it's like, I'm following a really comprehensive program. Sure, if it's a chiropractor and you feel, or they feel that you need an adjustment, there's no harm in that. But you're just not interested in taking a whole bunch of supplements or doing a whole bunch of different therapies that cost a lot of money, or testing that isn't going to help you. You're just, will you test, if I bring samples in of the most common parasite drugs, will you test me, energy test me? So when you're treating parasites, you've got to work with somebody. I'm just giving you an overview, but it's virtually impossible to treat yourselves, because this literally, what I'm sharing with you is like years and years of experience. So the parasite drugs are drugs, and they have an LD50. So that means that there's a toxicity to them if you don't use them right, or if you use lower than optimal amounts, then the parasites are not going to be killed. They're not a magic cure. They're not going to completely sterilize your body, but using the right combination with the other things we're doing, the oxygen therapies plus the herbs, it all comes together, and that's where we have the life-changing experience. So it's very important that we, the energy testing is helpful. There are times we have to use common sense. So, like if there's a person that's gone to somebody who says that they know how to do energy testing, but they didn't, when you look at the test results and if it doesn't make sense, like, yeah, you test that you have a tapeworm, but all the tapeworm medication doesn't test well for you. It's like, that's a blatant, obvious sign that this person really doesn't know what they're doing. So, this is where we come in to really help. Does this make sense? Do you need another opinion, etc.? So as far as the testing, that's what we would do is energy testing at this time. There are DNA tests, but again, they're just collecting such a small sample. And if there is no genetic material for the parasites that are causing your problems, your symptoms in that small sample, it's not going to show up. And then you've spent $750 to $1,000 on testing. If you have a lot of fungal symptoms, you probably have a fungal infection. You don't even need a test. If you have a lot of symptoms of Lyme disease, then you probably have that, and you could just use herbs, which will also help to treat other types of bacteria and other types of smaller parasites. So, this is just all the experience that we have in helping so many students. Uh, and GJ, you're looking forward to next week. Yeah. So please make sure to, if you enjoy these topics and you want to help me get the word out, please share my link. It's going to be with this post. I'll be sharing that today, and just share it with different groups. Let's get the discussion going with about parasites, right? And you will be blown away at my masterclass training. There is so much gold in that as far as really helping you to understand not just my opinion, but the science behind it. Like over 100 years of research for Lyme disease and for malaria babesia. And then you're going to see pictures of what Dr. Alan McDonald found, the worms in the central nervous system. You're going to see worms that our students have passed. I'll tell you ahead of time if you don't want to look at it, but I would encourage you. They're cleaned off, etc. But it's just so amazing. It's so exciting because there is an answer. There is hope. We don't have to live with them. And the nice thing is when you treat them really well, you'll notice that you can tolerate food again. You can tolerate, I still eat quite healthy just because of the heavy load that I have with work and being a grandmother. And, we live on we have a garden and we have dogs, and I'm trying to get back into horses. So the more of a high achiever you are in life, the more passionate you are about things, then you want to take better care of yourself. I've never gone back to alcohol. I don't want to ever, you know, all of that stuff. Sugar, I don't have, but I'm not suffering. I'm not missing it because you lose your cravings for all those things. And I'm so passionate about living. And that's what happens with our students is you get a second chance. And I tell you, when you get that second chance, you're going to do things that you never ever thought you would do because you're just like, you feel so empowered. You're like, well, if I've beat MS or cancer or diabetes or arthritis, etc., I can do all these other things that I'm so passionate about. And that's what our students do. You're so incredibly welcome. And just make sure you love horses too, Denise. Oh, I had a horse when I was probably around 16 to 21, and then I started to have babies and went to university. Well, that's when I got MS and etc. So I dropped the horses for quite a few years, but just really am excited to be with them. So GJ, you sure have tried a lot. I sure have tried a lot of sleep formulas, herbals mostly, and I still can't seem to get to sleep. What do I do? So, the first thing that you want to do is you want to follow the Live Disease Free diet because as you decrease the food to the parasites, they'll be less active. That will help you to sleep. That helps. One of the main things right off the bat, within a week or so, if your carbs are low enough, people notice that their bladder function improves tremendously so they don't have to get up as often. And then what you can do is I don't know anything about you, so I don't, but I'm just saying that our students, a lot of them just use over the counter Benadryl, which is it's the active ingredient in a sleep aid called Nital. So there's this huge history of antihistamines helping MS patients, and I've got all of that information. I think I've done actually a talk. You can find that if you do Live Disease Free and antihistamines, you'll see the talk that I did, and I'm sure it's a blog post. I've done a lot of different topics. Last week we talked about gadolinium poisoning, so make sure if you've had MRI with contrast that you read over that quickly or watch the video because that has to be pulled out of your body because it's a heavy metal that causes a lot of neurological symptoms that are very similar to MS symptoms. So with respect to sleep, a lot of our students find just regular strength Benadryl before bed. They might take it at 9 o'clock at night and it'll last till 3 o'clock in the morning. And then if they still wake up, if they don't have to work, they could take one more, or they could just do something lighter like valerian tincture. If an antihistamine is too strong, then what you can do is you can use melatonin. But we find that Benadryl, regular strength Benadryl, which is kind of like the drowsy form of antihistamine, it really helps us to be more relaxed, but it also sedates the parasites. KF, you are so grateful. Thank you for your kind words. It is a lot of work, and it's been a grind for like at least 10 years or so, over 10 years. But it's just like, I just feel like I have to do this. I absolutely have to do this. So, Peter, you've been doing with one of the treatments and you had a bad Herx reaction. So, that is not normal. Normally, with that parasite drug, we don't have, most of the students don't have a reaction. So, number one, I would, with our students, so there's a troubleshooting checklist, and I would get them to look at, like, are your carbs low enough? Have you had a lot of symptom improvements with the diet? If you haven't, you have to go back and do that. If you are still if the parasites are very happy and fed and you haven't done the prep work and you start to treat, then you will feel bad. But if you've had tremendous symptom improvements with the prep work, and then have you been energy tested? So I don't know if you've been, did you test well for this treatment? And then those are the really important things. Very important also to have your blood work done to check your liver and kidney function. And there are some people that have parasites in their liver, and they would notice that by elevated liver enzymes. So these are all things that we have to look at when we're treating, and that's why the prep phase is so important. But that treatment is tolerated really well by, I'd say, 99%. There could be like one or two people that their liver enzymes go up because they have parasites in their liver, and then they would just stop and they would just let that settle down. And I'm pretty sure that you mentioned you needed to support your liver, so maybe that's what it is. You're very welcome. Hi, Buffy. Coffee enemas have really helped me, and I will have to research the oxygen enemas. So, Buffy, if you go to our livediseasefree.com website, you'll see there is a blog post, and so there's a video. It's written and in video form, so whichever you like, but it's on the blog post. You can even just do oxygen therapies to treat parasites, live disease free, do a search like that, and you'll find it. It's also on Rumble. So the videos that are more sensitive, that it would be censored, I put them on Rumble when I'm talking about topics that I'm not allowed to talk about. All right, Denise. So Buffy, you used to get deathly ill from heat and migraines before you started doing major detoxes and taking iodine regularly. So iodine, it is an important nutrient for our health, but it also is very antimicrobial also. So it's very helpful. But that's awesome that you've had some improvements there. So Denise, you definitely need help. So make sure to join us on the masterclass training next week. Can you put the link here? Yes, I will. I just have to wait till I'm done, but the link will be there. And a couple more questions here. What do you mean to the last live of the year? So I still will be hosting these Wednesday live calls where I'm covering research topics, but I only host my masterclass training 3 times a year. And that's a special thing that's not on Facebook and it's not on YouTube, because I talk about a lot of things that I'm not allowed to talk about here. So that's where you get the honest, I can talk about the oxygen therapies. I can talk about the different types of parasite drug treatments we're using and the different herbs. I can talk a lot more openly to you on my masterclass training. So that will be a Zoom event. You'll just make sure to keep an eye out on our Live Disease Free Facebook and also on Instagram. You'll see links where you can click on it and you can register. All you do is put your name and email so that you'll get all the details for it. And it will be at 5 o'clock, same time, same day, but next week on Wednesday next week. And I can't remember, is that the 27th at 5 p.m. PST? And that will be a Zoom. So that will not be on Facebook. So I won't be here next week, but I will be here after that again for sure. All right. All right. So Denise, right now you've got an UTI that 3 prescriptions have not helped. So with urinary tract infections, there could be several different parasites that are causing it. And Denise, our diet is so helpful for the bladder. Start with that. Make sure to go on livediseasefree.com, look underneath research, look at the Live Disease Free diet, get your carbs down. You're going to notice that that's going to help you tremendously. If you do have an acute UTI infection, you have to treat it because you don't want to damage your kidneys. But you don't have to keep doing that if you, number one, get your carbs down. That will really help your bladder function. And then get ready to treat, and then you won't have those issues anymore. But there are different types of parasites that can cause issues in the bladder. There can be schistosomiasis, which is a blood fluke, which is really common. Can be also E. coli or other types of bacteria. Lyme loves the bladder, so there can be lots of different types of parasites. Again, it's not always just one. Facebook user is walnut rinds good in tincture form. So you can definitely use like black walnut, and you can use cloves, and you can use wormwood. But if you're dealing with chronic disease, you'll find that it's not really going to make a big difference for you. You might pass a few worms, but trust me, if we could just use herbs, we would just use herbs. But it's been night and day difference bringing in the oxidizing therapies and also bringing in the parasite drugs. So Lisa's asking, can you talk a little bit about parasites and Parkinson's? Yes. So I've got in our program, I'm sure that I have a page, and it's probably under topic specific resources. And I just did a quick search. You go to PubMed and you'll see that there's lots of studies linking Parkinson's disease to dysbiosis, again, like MS. So it doesn't matter what disease we have. When we have ALS, PLS, Parkinson's, MS, diabetes, cancer, any autoimmune, the sicker we are, the more infested. So the ALS, Parkinson's, MS, like we're farther down the line than other people. Like we have more of an infestation than others. And different parasites like to live in different parts of the body, so they cause different symptoms. But Parkinson's is also linked with parasites. That's all that it is. And there's lots of evidence to show that. So you follow all the same steps. The Live Disease Free plan, it doesn't matter what disease we're dealing with, what autoimmune, whether it's heart disease, cancer, autoimmune, chronic neurological diseases, you stop. It's all because it's infection, it's parasites. You stop feeding the infections, you support the body, and then you start to treat. And you do cycles, and you always start with the biggest parasites first, in size, the largest in size, and you work your way down to the smaller parasites. So again, Parkinson's is just look, I'm sure that I have a resource page under topic specific resources, which just shares some of the research. If not, I will look for it, but I definitely have done research on that. And we've had students that have Parkinson's, and again, and it's crazy because with ALS or PLS, they use very, very similar parasite drugs. Not always all the same, but they still have roundworms. They could still have tapeworms, but I believe that it's probably, some of the smaller parasites that get into the central nervous system that could make a difference for sure for for example, ALS. ALS is linked a little bit with Clostridia species also, but then so is MS and so is autism, et cetera. But there's different species, right, of different types of Clostridia. And then Denise, how do I get rid of sugar cravings? Follow the Live Disease Free diet. You'll get rid of your sugar cravings. All right. And there's a few more here. So, Attell Real Estate, thank you so much for all of your hard work, Pam. Thank you for being a cheerleader. Any ideas on how to get energy tested for parasite killers? Sorry if you addressed this last week, you missed it. So, I shared it on this live also. So, basically, you have to get access to common so, through a doctor, they can write a prescription to give you samples of common parasite drugs for roundworms, for tapeworms, for flukes, for protists, so like for giardia, uh, mycoplasma, like all of these different types of microbes, and also for fungi, for yeast and molds. And you just need one dose of each of these common treatments, and then you take them to a practitioner who does either applied kinesiology like a chiropractor, or you could do a naturopath who does some kind of muscle testing, or they might use a machine. And then they can just literally take the one dose of each of the herbs and parasite drugs one at a time, and they just hold it in your energy field, and they can tell if it helps or not. It's not an exact science, but it's the best that we have, and it is helpful. If it's a good practitioner that has a lot of good Google reviews, they have a good reputation, they use energy testing in their practice every day, and they've done so for years, it can be helpful. It is another piece of information that helps us to build the game plan. I wish we had better parasite tests, but we don't at this time yet. It just, and I mean, you can spend lots of money. You can spend $6,000 to $10,000 on testing, and it's not going to give you enough meaningful information. So I just say keep your money. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. There's more questions. Go ahead and keep typing your questions in the question box. Our team will definitely answer your questions. And so I just wanted to thank you so much for spending this time with me. I really hope that, if you've never heard that parasites could be your issue, please look into this. I promise you, this will be your ticket. It does take work, it does take effort, but not as much effort as living with chronic disease. So if you have enjoyed this, please like, share, and subscribe. But if you want to learn more about how this plan, this where all these students are recovering right now, but we have had all these other students. And if you want to listen to some of their stories, go onto our website, livediseasefree.com. You can go onto livediseasefree.com, Live Disease Free YouTube channel. You'll see playlists there and on our website. And that way you can actually hear their voices, you can hear their experiences, and it's nothing short of life changing just because they're treating parasites. So, if you want to learn more about the plan, if you'd like to hear the uncensored version of the plan, make sure to join next week on my last live masterclass training for the year. Again, that's not on Facebook or YouTube. It is going to be off so that I can be honest and I can share real experiences. I can share like names of different things that I can't talk about here. That'll be 5 o'clock Wednesday. I believe that's September the 27th at 5 p.m. PST. Same time as I always am here this week. Again, next week. And so there will be a link. You've got to register to grab a spot. It's very popular. We usually have hundreds of people from all over the world joining in. So make sure to book your spot, grab your spot so that you have a spot. And the link will be above or below this video. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful week, and we will see you next week on my live masterclass training. Take care and bye-bye for now.